Alright, so this lesson is going to go over some of the string functions that are in Python that we can use to perform some pretty cool things on strings. So the first thing I'll go over, it's something we're already pretty familiar with. It's called concatenation, which if you remember from the previous lesson, it's just putting two strings together. So for example, if I concatenate butter and then fly and print it, it'll just give me butterfly, and if I do race car, it'll give me a race car. And we can also concatenate with like sentence too. This is kind of a really small example, but let's try to do a bigger one. So we're also going to use the input function we used before, and we're going to get the name. We're going to get the name and the age of somebody, and then just tell it to them in a sentence. So I'll say age equals input, enter your age. And so age would normally, it'd be a number like 1, 17, 16, but in this case we don't need to convert it to an integer because we're not really performing any calculations on it. So now we're going to do name equals input and just enter your name. And now what we're going to do with these variables that we have now is we're just going to print them in a sentence. So I'm going to say print hello, and then I'm going to add a space here because we want a space between name and hello because that's how English works, but there's not a space in the variable. So that's something you really got to be careful about when you're concatenating sentences like this, is the punctuation, because it can get kind of hectic to look at this whole print statement and to try to figure out like the punctuation of it. So hello name, and then I'll just end that sentence there, and then I'll just put a comma here, and then you are space plus age, and then I'll add another space here, years old. And let's see if I wrote this correctly. So enter your age, I'm 16. Enter your name, my name is Bruce. So hello Bruce, you are 16 years old. So now let's go into some other functions that you can have. So I'm just gonna set a new variable, string1, equal to input. Just get the user to input a string, just any string. Enter a string. And then I'm gonna write a print function here. First I'm gonna show you guys the len function. So this function len, it takes a string as an argument, and it just gives you the length of the string in characters. So if I have the string Gary, say, it'll give me 4. If I put in Hogwarts, it should give me 8. So that's length. It just gives you the amount of characters in the string basically. And let's do dot, set up the length here. So this next one is called a method. So I'll do str1 dot lower. Let's print this. So enter a string hello, put that in all caps, and then you see it converted it to all lowercase. So this is useful as sometimes you don't know the capitalization your user is going to enter. So this is kind of good to get it into all lowercase so your code can kind of better fit it. There's also the dot upper method, which you probably guessed by now, it just converts it to all uppercase. So if I up there, I don't need to type up there. If I just type hello, it'll give me all uppercase. And so now it's this dot count method. So I don't know if I said this already, but the difference between a method and a function is how some of the arguments are passed. So a method, it always has the self argument, which is basically just a variable that we put in front of the dot right here in the dot count that's used in the calculation of the function. So with this dot count method, it always has an argument called self. Every method has that, but it also has an argument. So the count, it basically just tells me how many times something occurs in a string. So if I put L, that parameter it could be a string. It doesn't have to be just a character. So if I put hello, it does 2. If I put let's see, I want to just do LLO. and I'll make this hello. See, it also gives me 2 because LLO is in this 2 times. So another one is .index. Now, index, it's often a confusing topic when you first start programming, but it's not that hard once you really think about it. So I'll do str1.index, and then I'll say L again. So basically, what index is, it's the position of something within something else, and this is the concept applies to various different data types. You don't know all of them yet. We just know a string is one of them, and so it basically it just tells the position of a character inside of a string. So I'll put a diagram on the screen that shows it. But basically, if I have the text, I'll just say hello here. So the index, the first letter in this string is index 0. The second is index 1. The third is index 2. The fourth is index 3, and the fifth is index 4. So this .index method, it just gives you the first occurrence of whatever you typed in here in the string. So in this case, it gave me the first occurrence of L, which was in index position 2. So now let's do something different. So let's just tell the user the first letter in what they enter. So I'm gonna use I'm gonna say print str1, and then I'm gonna use these square brackets here. So these square brackets, they do what's called indexing on the string. So they basically take whatever is an index value inside the string. So I'll just do some examples in it. So if I type hello again, it'll give me H. If I were to type Johnson, it gives me J. If I were to type yo, it gives me Y. So now let's kind of adapt this to be more to tell the user more what's actually happening. Just notice that this these square brackets, they're going to come back later when we get to things like lists. So definitely, if you don't understand index, definitely read up on it, 'cause it's very important in pretty much all of programming. So I'm just going to say, I'm just going to change this print statement right now to, I'm going to say, no, I'm messing up right now. So the first letter in, and I'll do plus str1 because that's what the user entered, is, and then I want to put this letter in quotes right now. So I'm gonna use something that's called, you don't really need to know this, it's just useful sometimes. It's called the escape character. So this backslash here, it basically it tells Python basically whatever character is after this, it's strictly string. So in this case, if I were to just put a quotation mark in here, my string would get all messed up because it would think that I have a string inside a string. So this backslash here just basically just says, hey, this quotation mark here, it's part of the string. Don't mess with it. And then right here, I'm just going to put str1 square bracket 0. I'm going to go ahead and close my quotation marks, backslash, and then another quotation mark. And this should be good. Just got a period there. Now let's see if I coded it right. So enter string. I'll put my name, Bruce. The first letter in Bruce is B. So that was the escape character. Once again, it's just nice to know. You don't necessarily need it, but that was kind of some of the things we can do with strings, indexing, all that. The next one's going to be numbers. There's going to be a lot of math in there.